This conference will now be recorded.
Great. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining me this morning. So, yesterday we have discussed Python 05. In the Python 05, we covered about important aspects of catching exceptions, and we also understood the theoretical concepts of how catching exceptions can be handled. And we did one hands-on exercise on how that can be implemented. However, the return statement printed and different than what we try to do. That's a different story. We'll handle that later stages. So today let's continue and finish the rest of our agenda. The next one will be updating the variables. Okay. So now few days back when Python 02, I believe, we discussed about variables and values. Whatever value you assign to a variable is called as a value. I repeat, whatever a variable will have a value assigned to it. A simple word. Now, let's get into the topic straight away. When it comes to updating the existing variables, we need to reassign it after updating its value. I repeat, try to understand the logic here. When it comes to updating the existing variable, we need to reassign it after updating its variable. There is a concept called mutable versus immutable in Spark. In Spark, the way how it works is when you assign a value to a variable, that will be persisted in RDD. But here the concept is a bit different. So, for example, if you take a equal to a plus 1, it gets the current value of a, adds 1, and then updates a with a new value. Perfect. But if we try to update a variable that is not yet assigned any value, for example, which doesn't exist, you will get an error. The reason why this happens is Python evaluates the right side before it assigns the value to a. Okay, therefore, before updating, we need to initialize the variable. Always remember, before updating, you need to initialize the variable. This arrow is not the correct symbol, but the Office 365 has given me this one, so I have to take it. I have to put this one in bold, change the text. Okay, so always remember, before updating, we need to initialize the variable. Okay, therefore, what happens is before updating, if we have to initialize the variable, you can say a equal to 0, a equal to a plus 1, a equal to a minus 1. Like that, you can go on assigning a value to a variable. Okay, now what happens in this scenario is if you are not aware of this concept and keep updating the variables, you will tend to drive in a wrong direction. Dealing with variables, always remember, when you are trying to update a variable, if the variable is already initialized, then be careful. If the variable is not initialized, then try to initialize it and update the variable. That's very important. Okay, so let's move on to next slide. This is while loop. This is the important this is very important. From here we have to deal with little complex aspects of it, so kindly focus, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, now what is while loop, what is the difference between for loop and while loop, and how the iterations happens in this loops is very important. Now, while loop is one form of statement used for making iterations in Python. If you go back to our machine learning housing project, we talked about iterations many number of times. In the cross-fold validation, when we set CV equal to 3, we set 3 iterations. In each iteration, it runs it trains the model and then evaluates the performance of the model with the various hyperparameters such as estimators and features. Now, somebody asked me at that stage, what is an iteration? Iteration is nothing but repetition. Repetition is nothing but this is my first run of stress testing. This is my second run of stress testing. It is my third run of stress testing. That is called iterations. Now, so while loop is nothing but it is one form of statement used for Python to making iterations in Python. It helps in automating the repetitive or similar task. Let's take an example. If you take a equal to 1, while a less than or equal to 1, a equal to a plus 1. If you do that, it says print a has crossed 5 and print of a will do that. Okay. Now let me start explaining you practically, because theory wouldn't help us at all. So I won't do the mistake what I did yesterday. I'll shut down the Jupyter notebook and then reopen it. Give me 1 second, folks. Let me close this one. Let me close this one. Refresh this one. Okay. Let's say, what is that? A equal to 1 less than or equal to 1, a equal to a plus 1. Okay, perfect. Let me do that. If I say a is equal to 1, and if I say while a less than or equal to 5, and if I say a equal to a plus 1, and if I say print a has crossed 5, just say print of a. Now let's see what happens. Invalid syntax, that is fine. What did I do? Yes, there's unnecessary space between this one. Now if I do this one, let me see what happens. Now see, try to understand how it has iteration implemented. When it taken a equal to 1, okay, it said while a is less than or equal to 5 is implemented. Yes, a is less than or equal to 5. Perfect. It said a equal to a plus 1. So a is equal to 1 plus 1, 2. It said a has crossed 5, print of a. Print of a is again iterated. So when a becomes 6, when a becomes 7, it won't run, because a equal to 1, a equal to 2, a equal to 3, a equal to 4, a equal to 5. Till 5, a will be equal to or less than or equal to 5. That is very, very, very important. Okay, that's the whole flow of logic works. Let's now jump start into it. Now I'm talking about this one now. From here I continue explaining the workflow of while loop. Firstly, this program will assign number 1 to the variable a. Perfect. And then it iterates to the point when a less than or equal to 5 becomes false. I repeat, it iterates to the point when a is less than or equal to 5 becomes false. When will a less than or equal to 5 becomes false? When when a is greater than 5. Perfect. Finally, when the value of a becomes 6, the flow comes out of the while loop and prints the further results. Okay, I'm here now. So when finally the value becomes 6, the flow comes out of the while and prints the further results. Perfect. What happens is, precisely the flow of while statement is as follows. The first thing is, it checks the condition whether it is true or false. Superb. If it is true, executed the indented statements after the while and then again check the condition. Most of the people confuse here. The starters think that if it is true, it executed the indented statements after the while and that's it. But that's not the way how it works. If the statement is true, it executes the intended statements after the while and then again checks the condition. Okay, and then again checks the condition. So this is very important. If at any point of time the condition becomes false, the flow goes out of the loop and proceeds further in the program. Now, there are two areas you need to understand in this. The first one is, if it is true, it executes the intended statement after the while and then again checks the condition. Super. And then again checks the condition. This you have to remember. If at any point, if the condition becomes false, the flow goes out of the loop. When I say flow goes out of the loop, yes, it goes out of the loop and proceeds further in the program. This is very important for you to understand. Do you have any questions on this slide? If you don't understand this slide, you will tend to confuse yourself in for loop also. Are you clear with this one? Everyone, quick response, please. You can type or you can just say yes or no.
Yes, Swami.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Yeah, superb. That's fine. Let me go to 42 slide now. Okay. This is just a continuation for while loop. Now, this type of flow is called a loop because the last intended step loops back around to the top. Understand the logic here. This type of flow is called a loop. What is a loop? When I say loop, it keeps on repeating. It keeps on continuing the work. So this is called loop because the last intended step looks back around the top. We call each time we execute the body of the loop as an iteration. For the above loop, we would say it had 5 iterations because we said a less than or equal to 5. If I say a less than or equal to 10, it takes all the 10 numbers starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, which means the body of loop was executed 5 times in our case. The body of the loop should alter the value of one or more variable so that finally the condition becomes false. I am on the 4th step. Kindly observe. The body of the loop should alter the value of one or more variable so that finally the condition becomes false. When will the condition becomes false? When a equal to 1 is met, when a equal to 2 is met, when a equal to 3 is met, when a equal to 4 is met, when a equal to 5 is met, when a equal to 6 comes, it becomes false. Now, we call the variable that changes each time the loop executes and controls when the loop finishes the iteration variable. I repeat, we call the variable that changes each time the loop executes. When a equal to 1, the loop executes. When a equal to 2, the loop executes. When a equal to 3, the loop executes. When a equal to 4, the loop executes. This way, when the loop is executing, it's fine. When we are done with the value that completes the iteration, the loop is finished and the iteration variable it changed also finishes. That's the important point. For example, look at the iteration variable a. I explained the example very nicely. Now, if there is no iteration variable for any reason, the loop will repeat forever, resulting in infinite loop. If I say just a is greater than 5, then it will be 5 to infinity. It keeps on growing. That is where you have to be little clear on how the while loop is implemented. So the important aspect in this slide is this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit. If you are clear of this fourth slide, of these 4 important points, you are fine. I would like to repeat it again. First one, the program will assign a value 1 to a variable a. Once that's done, this will iterate to the point when a less than or equal to 5 becomes false. Super. So finally, when the value of a becomes 6, the flow comes out of the while and prints the further results. Super. Now, if the statement is true, it executes the intended statements after the while and then again checks the condition. At any cost, if the condition becomes false, the flow goes out of the loop and proceeds further in any program. Okay, that's nice. Now, this is okay. Now, let's get the hands-on. Here, you need to write a function. Understand the question carefully. You need to write a function with the name sum underscore function that takes one argument. Perfect. It should return -1 if the argument is not 1 minute. if the argument is not int, let me not confuse you. Now, your function you defined should return -1 if the argument is not int, and if the argument is an int, if it is non-negative, return sum of all the integers from 0 to that argument. Super. In case the argument passed negative int, return -1. That's all it is. There are only two things you have to be aware of. Defining function, you all know about it. It should return -1 if the argument is not int, and if the argument is an int, and if it is non-negative, return the sum of all the integers. Okay, like that. Sum of the integers starts from 0. In case if the argument is passed to negative int, return -1. There are 3 conditions to be met. Okay, so first form the structure of your program, how you are going to define. How many if statements you need to use here? I have to use one if statement in the start. The first one if statement is, I want to check if my function type is int or not. Second condition, if my value of a is greater than 0, it should return -1. Now, if that condition is passed, I have to either say sum equal to 0, I have to say integer, I have to start a while loop there. While loop is nothing but when integer is less than or equal to 0, start summing up from 0 and return the sum. Theory looks confusing if I start how I'm doing it, but I'll tell you practically. Did you understand the requirement correctly? Guys, did you understand the requirement correctly? What am I doing? What am I doing here? If you're not clear, I can explain a bit more.
No, Amma.
Okay, simple was return -1 if argument is not int. Now, what is an argument? Within the function, you will define something that can be an argument or a parameter. It's called as an argument when a variable's value is assigned to it. We discussed about it now. So let's say my function will have a argument a. When a equal to 0, a equal to 0 is an int. For example, let's say a equal to 1. When I say a equal to 1, it's an int. When it's an int, I have written -1. So what do you have to say? If a equal to 1, return -1. What if a is not equal to, if a is not int? If a is int, I'm fine. How do you find a is int? Just say type of a. If type of a is int, that returns -1. If type of a is string, what you have to do? That's a different condition. So first requirement is completed. Second requirement, if the argument is an int and if it is non-negative, okay, what is argument? Argument is a, because I say function of a. Argument is, my argument is obviously int, okay, and if it is non-negative, okay, when you can say it's a non-negative, you can only say non-negative when sum is equal to 0. Okay, so for that reason I'll say else sum equal to 0, and from that point I'll say if this condition is met, start summing up all the integers from the 0. That's done. And after that, in case the argument pass a negative int, return -1. I'll say if the condition 1 and 2 are not met, else return -1. Is it clear now?
Yep.
Perfect. Now let me go ahead and try that practically. Let me understand this once again. Define a function, that's fine. Argument is int. If it is non-negative, return it. Okay, cool. So what happens is, as we do every day, definition sum underscore function, I would say a, and the indentation starts from here. Now my if type of a should be, if type of a is int, then my the function block starts from here, I would say it should also be what is it he said? If it is non-negative, when it is non-negative, then it should be if a is less than or equal to 0, that will be non-negative. Be careful with 0 and O. When I say a is less than or equal to 0, that is negative. Okay. So what do you say? If it is non-negative, return sum of all integers. Okay. Be careful with colons. Return -1. Perfect. Now I'll have my else statement here. In my else statement, I'll say sum is equal to 0, which is initialization of my variable sum, and I'll start with integer 0. Perfect. And I'll start my while loop here, because while my integer is less than or equal to a, I believe. Yeah, it's less than or equal to a. Let me check once again. Yeah, integer is equal to a mean your integer is the initial integer you have taken, and it should always be less than or equal to 0. Okay. I should start my function code here.
No, it's just less than, right? Not equal to 0 means then it is not a negative value.
No, 0 is not negative value, right?
Yeah.
On top, what I'm Ritvesh, understand the question correctly. I have two conditions here. It should be an int. It should be an int as well.
Yeah.
If not int, and if it is not non-negative,
Yeah.
I have to take care of two conditions here. That's the reason why I'm giving less than or equal to.
Okay.
If it is less than or equal to, only then it will be non-negative and it is non-int. Right? You got my point?
Yeah.
Okay. So while that is taken care, let me do sum. Sum is like it should start from 0 to that argument. So I can say sum starts from, I said my sum is equal to 0 plus I would say integer. Okay, this is one bit of it. Now I can say integer is equal to integer plus 1. I can say return sum. If any of these conditions fail, simply say else return -1. RETUR return -1. Okay, let me quickly check if I have done it correctly. Some more functions, perfect. Type of a is int, perfect. If a less than 0, that would return -1. That's my first if condition. And then I have else condition. So in my else condition, sum equal to 0, integer equal to 0. And when integer is less than or equal to a, sum should be from that number to that argument. So I would say sum plus integer. And then I would say integer plus 1. Perfect. Let me try running this. Okay. Now if I say sum of function, I would say 2. It's at 0. Perfect. If I said sum of function, I would say if a is less than 0, -1. If I say -1, it returned -1. Okay. And if I say sum of function of 10, 10 is not less than 10 is not less than 10 is less than 0, it returns -1. And let me see that 0. Perfect. So it's working as per my requirement. Now simple boss, if what is less than 0, -1 is less than 0. When it is less than 0, return -1. So this condition is met. This block is executed. Kel khatam dukan band. Whenever this condition is not met, it will come to else function and start implementing while function. Okay, in the while function, what did you say? my sum is equal to 0. Forget what sum is. Okay, you said my integer is 0. That is the value initialization. Okay, I understand. Integer is less than or equal to a. Your integer is 0. Okay, what is your a? My a is 10. When I say a is 10, okay, when I say a is 10, 0 is less than or equal to 10. There are two conditions I have to take care of. Okay, so it will start summing up sum equal to sum plus integer, return sum will always be 0 because it cannot continue running this one, and if it run also it will return the sum, which is nothing but sum equal to 0. You can change this one to anything you want, but please be, all you need to know here is the syntax and the skeleton of your program, how you implement it, what happens if you change the value, how the whole execution is impacted when you change the value. That's all you need to be aware of. Are you clear with this flow? Are you clear with the code? You have to practice, guys. If you have to practice so much, only then you'll get a lot of confidence on this one. So don't take it easy. You'll have to make your hands dirty as much as you can. Only then you'll get to that confidence levels of what I'm speaking now. Clear? Mitvesh, any questions on this one?
I have summon integer. I'm a bit confused with that part only. I can't understand why we are using that.
Forget about sum, forget about integer. Take a equal to 0, b equal to 0, a equal to 0, b equal to 0. Always remember, any initialization will start from 0, right?
Yeah.
Now, what if I don't take integer equal to 0? What if I don't take integer equal to 0? If I don't take integer equal to 0, that can be anything which user gives input, right?
Yeah.
అవునా? ఇక్కడ ఏం చెప్తున్నాను అంటే, because of these two values are already initialized, okay, you know sum is 0, you know integer is 0, okay, here you know a is less than or equal to 0. Now ఇది అర్థమైందా? ఫస్ట్ థింగ్, let me tell you something. Did you understand this logic?
Yeah, I understand that logic.
Perfect.
Clearly.
Then forget about it. Now this logic here is, if this is executed, it will return -1.
Yeah.
If it is not executed, it will come here. Okay, when it is coming to the next block, there you have a while loop. What is while loop saying? While loop is an iteration process. It will iterate to the point where the statement turns into a negative. Okay, when will the statement turns negative? When your integer is, when your integer is greater than equal to a, it is positive. When integer is greater than a, it fails. Now what is your integer here? 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 2? It's true, right? Am I right? Okay. So when integer is less than or equal to 2, it has to do this bit, right? So what is sum here? 0. What is integer here? 0. What is 0 plus 0?
0.
0. Now integer equal to integer plus 1. Now if this condition is met, when sum equal to sum plus integer is met, okay, it is already completed the first block of execution and it will return this one. Okay, if the condition is not met here, it will jump into this part where it will start calculating the number. Okay,
Yeah.
that is the reason why I said sum plus integer, 0 plus 0 equal to 0, and take integer equal to 0, integer. And once again, when I say integer equal to integer plus 1, my integer value is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. It should return some value. Now, boss, understand something. Even though it does this bit, right? Understand. Even though this does this bit, which is 0 plus 1 is 1, I am asking to return only sum. What is my sum? 0 plus 0, which is returning sum. Now let me show you something. If I say return integer here, understand the logic. Very simple. You have a logic in your mind. Now let me run this one. And if I say function of 2, it's 1. The reason is a is greater than 0. It has not, a is, I said function of 2. Okay, so a is greater than 0. I'll return -1. A is greater than 0, that's true. Okay, that's true. And it came here. Here you initialize sum equal to 0 instead is equal to 0. So 0 plus 0 will be 0. And I integer equal to 0 plus 1. It returned integer. If I change sum here, understand what happens. Again, if I say function of 2, it's a 0. Did you understand that?
Yep. See,
Anna,
here we are using sum, okay. Then why again integer is coming in the picture? There is no use of using that one, right? Why we are using
that's
again
what
integer?
I also think, because the
Guys,
while loop on its own is separate, but this one anyway, even if we don't use while loop, I mean, the while loop logic is not incrementing or anything. It's just there. We are just, instead of using while and writing this much lines, we can simply write if and else. So the only two outputs we are getting is either 0 or -1. The
okay.
while loop is not, I mean, this this while loop is not implementing. I mean, there is no increment. Like the previous example, you told us 1, 2, 3, 4, and when it comes 6, it's going to stop. But in this one, the output is either 0 or -1. There is no increment or there is no stop for it.
Guys, I understand your point. Okay. The reason why this example was made is very simple. Till here, it is one part of the code. Okay, let me come back to my slide. I want to show this thing practically. If this is true, it executes the intended statements after the while and then checks the condition. For any reason, if the condition is false, the flow gets out of the loop and proceeds further. Okay. Now, for that reason, I gave this in the code. I also gave this in the code, but I'm returning sum. Instead of that, I can just ignore this one, right? I didn't ignore. Guys, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is I can just simply remove this one. but I added it here because it was telling in the condition asking for if the argument is an int and if it is non-negative, return the sum of all integers. When I say all integers, it is starting from the initialization point of view. What is initialization? You initialize with 0. After the initialization, you have taken one integer. What is that integer? That integer can be 1, 2, 3, 4, anything. So return the sum of all integers from 0 to that argument. To which argument? To the argument from the initialization to the argument of the value assigned to that argument. So when this is done, in case argument is passed negative int, okay, if it is passed as negative int, then return -1. That's what I have to take one additional step. So the straight answer to your question is yes, the earlier while loop is different and this while loop is different. Here, because of this condition, it is not going through so many iterations, but if you can say if integer greater than or equal to a, the whole scenario changes. Let me show that one. If I say this one, if integer is greater than or equal to a, let me see what will happen. See how it will iterate through. If I say function of 2, again change to -1. Now if I say function of 22, sorry guys, now it's also -1. Now if I say function of -1, let's see what happens. It is also saying -1. One second. This is also now how I can iterate this one.
Anna, I'm not sure whether I'm right or wrong, but
No,
from the requirement,
I understood. I understood this is a bit confusing. I understood that. Go ahead now. Tell me, Mino.
in the slide, I mean, according to my understanding, I might be wrong. I think they're asking, we need to, if you go to the slide and I'll tell you. Yeah, in the middle, it says if an argument is an integer, if it is non-negative, return the sum of all integers from 0 to that argument. So I am thinking if we give 5, so we need to write a logic saying we should add from 0 to 5 and give the output. That's what I am thinking. Something like that. Because it says return the sum of all integers from 0 to that argument.
See, from my understanding, from 0 to that argument means when I give argument value 5 and when I say sum equal to 0, from that sum equal to 0 point to the argument value 0.5, it should sum. Okay,
Yeah.
let me tell you this way. See, here when I say argument equal to argument value, nothing but this bit, this one, whatever you give to a, that will be your argument value. Now when a is less than 0, return -1. This is always passing through. Now let me show you something. I'll say a is greater than 0. And I'll say a of 0. Okay, let me run this bit. I understood where you guys are confused. Let me explain you. Now try to understand. If a is greater than 0, I gave a is 0, so it's not. It should return -1, right? Okay. It has an else condition. If it's not passed, go ahead and do this one. Now my sum is equal to 0, my integer is also 0, my a is also 0. Okay, earlier it was integer less than or equal to a, now I changed it to greater than or equal to a. When this condition is done, it's true, it will ignore this bit. But here a is greater than 0 is not passed and type of a should be int. Done. It comes to this bit. When this is coming to this bit, it has to calculate the sum from my initialization point, which is 0, to this point, which is a I have given here. 0 plus 0 is 0. That's what it is. And now if you have any further confusions, I'll go back, spend some time on it, and come back to you. Is that okay? I know this is a bit unclear.
Yeah.
I have to accept that. We'll make it more easy. Let me go back and deep dive it, come back to you. Is that fine?
Can.
I'm sure my understanding is correct because it was validated too, but the way we are approaching it might be a bit different. I'll go and deep dive into it and come back to you on that one. Is that fine?
Yep, yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll highlight this one. I'll put this one in my OneNote so I can come back to you on this one without any missing of this one. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. This is done. Now let's go to 44th slide. Now here we are talking about break and continue. This break and continue is there are the situations you will pass through. We would like to skip the iteration or stop all further iterations and move ahead in the program. Okay, this kind of situations will come into picture when you have one iteration to go through and other iteration to stop and continue to third part of the code. Okay, break and continue statement will help us to fulfill that purpose as well. Which purpose? If we have a main program, in the main program we have 3 blocks. The first block is one iteration about one condition. The second block is second iteration about second condition. The third block is third iteration about a third condition. You don't want to break your head with the first. You want to run the first one, ignore the second one, and go ahead and run the third one. In such situations, you will use break and continue. Okay. Now let me go ahead and explain you more clearly. If you remember, guys, in the just previous example, we have returned sum of all integers up to number passed to the function as an argument. Okay, my argument will be a can be 0, a can be 1, a can be 2, a can be 3. We have returned sum of integers up to the number. Which number? Whatever the number is given in the integer, that is the number from the point where I have given my argument. Okay, now suppose if you would like to calculate sum of all the numbers input by the user, in my while loop I said, boss, if a is greater than or equal to 0, this is the condition. Instead of using while loop, I am asking my program to take the input from user and then sum all the numbers by user. Okay, now what happens in this situation is, if we take the input one by one, we can give the option to the user to end the process when he or she is done with inputting all the numbers. Did you understand break and continue usage point of it, guys? Very simple. In the while loop, you gave the condition to the Python telling, while this condition is met, please do this. Like that, if at all you wanted user to keep on giving the numbers, so the sum will be implemented. At the point where user has completed summing up, he'll stop the process, or the user can end the process. In such kind of situations, we use break and continue process in Python. Okay, let's talk about the program here. Very simple. Do not confuse yourself. Here, sum equal to 0. When sum equal to 0 and it's true, you input, enter 1 to enter a number, enter 2 to stop the process. Let me first copy this one and show you. You will get a sense of what I'm talking about. Okay, this is indentation. Whenever I copy paste, the indentation goes off, so you need to be very careful. This is only explaining how the concept works, so we can do the practicals later. This is fine. Again, I have it here. So break. I have else statement here. Again break. Again I have continue. Now let's talk about this one. What are you trying to do here? Guys, first understand the concept. Here, first thing we did is we initialize the sum as 0. And then there is a while statement whose condition will always be true. Let's go one by one. First thing is I initialize the sum equal to 0 and there is a while statement whose condition will always be true. That's perfect. Now, when you are saying it's a while is always true, undoubtedly that is infinite loop. Okay, you're all with me? Guys, you're all with me, right? When I say while is true, that's infinite loop there, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
perfect. We understood that point clearly. Let's move on to next step. In the next step, I gave the option to the user at every iteration telling whether to enter a new number or to stop entering the numbers. If user enters 1, what happens? If he doesn't enter, what happens? Okay, now let's get into the statement of the flow of the statement. If the user enters 1, we ask to enter the number. We take the precaution here using try except statements. When I say try except, go back to our previous class. Try except is exception handling. Whenever you see an error, you want to add a statement there so user can take care of the flow. That is what we discussed earlier. We are implementing that one here. Perfect. Now, the reason why we are taking the precaution of try except is to check whether the input given by user is valid number or not. Okay. Are you clear with this point? Why I use try and except? This bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's perfect. Now what happens is, if the number is valid, we add it to the sum. This is where you guys are confused. If it's a valid number, means the number can be 1, number can be 2, number can be 3, number can be 4, anything. If it is valid number, we add it to the sum. What is sum? Sum is nothing but an initialization variable which has a value assigned, and it is also storing the sum of that variable plus the int number. Are you clear with this point?
Yeah.
Guys, once again, I told sum equal to 0 here. It is infinite loop. So sum is a variable which started with storing the value 0 in the first place. That's it. Now here what I'm saying is sum equal to 0 is nothing but this 0 plus an int number, which means if my number is valid, it has to go and sum up, and the result of the sum should be stored in the variable sum. Perfect. Are you clear to this point? Everyone? Confusion unte cheppandi. I'll try a different way. Guys, any confusion? Do you want me to start from the beginning?
No.
Clear? The way you guys are means to me that you're not clear yet.
Uh, Probably once you run the program, we'll see how it works. I mean, I have only one doubt. Like,
Yeah.
why are we using while if there is only one output? I mean, ఒక స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇచ్చేయచ్చు కదా while అంటే నా అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ప్రకారం ఒక కండిషన్ మెట్టయ్యే వరకు లోపల లూప్ రన్ అవ్వాలి అని నేను అర్థం. దట్స్ వాట్ ఐ అండర్స్టూడ్. In this one, so initially we have given sum is equal to 0. So if we enter, let's say 5, so sum is already 0. 0 plus 5, the sum will become 5. So output should be 5, and then it stops there. It won't go back for while loop again. It doesn't go back from start again, right?
Okay. Let me tell you something. What you thought is 100% correct. But
Okay.
while is not just about If the statement is passed, execute. If the statement is broken, come out of it and run and go to your else statement and go to your next block. It's not just that. There are several other areas where we need to focus. So
Okay.
this is one use case as such, where you have given a while loop and while has to continue and pass. Guys, very simple guys. The reason why you are confused is you are just working on while here, but you're not focusing on there is already an if statement and else statement. If you are aware, just okay, let me first ask you this. Did you guys gone through that if else if?
Yes, I went through that.
You went through that, right?
Yeah.
Can you apply that logic first and then jump to this logic? This is our previous class, if else one.
Yeah.
And here we are implementing while on top of it. Now, if you ask me, Amarnath, while is so easy, why you are complicating it with example? What I have to tell you is the while use case is implemented in any of the corner, in any of the end of your block, provided you may have many other if, else, while, again, repeated, try, catch, again, break, continue, like that. While loop is only one of the small drop in an ocean. When you are dealing with the programming language like Python, you should be able to structure the whole skeleton of the program. While structuring the program, you must be in a position to link while into else, else into while into try catch into like that. That is how the course was been planned, and I'm trying to leverage that one. Okay, so
Okay.
considering that one, what you said is absolutely right. I'm not denying it.
It's 6 hours.
Okay, I'm not denying it. But we need to know how it can be linked with other aspects of the programming aspect. Okay. Okay. This use case, forget about it. I know you guys are totally confused and lost on this one. Tomorrow I'll come back and make it more easy for you. Okay.
Okay.
You guys are just focused on this one. As I'm talking about while loop, you are relating while loop, but while implementing it, it was implemented with if, else, and while as well. Okay, I will break that code into pieces tomorrow because I have a targeted slides to finish today. Okay, this is one scenario of it.
Yeah.
Now let me erase all the drawings. Let me come back to the pointer. This bit again, we are using while loop, but while loop is infinite here because I said while is always true. Okay, let me repeat again this one. If you understand this, you will be fine with next slide also. Okay, I'm starting from beginning, guys, if you don't mind, because I know we just came out of the flow because of a doubt from that's fine. Okay, so what happens here is if user enters 1, we ask to enter the number. Okay, because this bit. Perfect. Now we take a precaution using try except statements to check whether the input given by user is a valid number or not. Okay. Now I'm talking about this bit this bit. Try except. Try except is nothing but sum equal to sum plus int. Okay. What is sum? That is nothing but 0. What is int? The number which you are going to enter. Okay. When I say 0 plus 1, it is 1. That is valid. Okay. When I say 0 plus 2, that's 2. That's valid. When I say 0 plus 3, that's valid. When I say 0 plus minus 1, that is minus 1. That's not a valid number. That is a negative. Okay. So what I'll do is, okay, this is try except, which I want to add a safety precaution in my code. Perfect. Now here we have the important concept called the continue. The continue will stop the iteration there and goes to next iteration. Now, that's the use of continue. Now, what did I explain in my slide? I explained in my slide, boss, in the last exercise, we returned the sum of all integers up to the number passed to the function as an argument. Perfect. What if user would like to calculate sum of all the numbers input by user? I'm saying 0, I'm saying 1, I'm saying 2, I'm saying 3, 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is what I wanted to take. Okay. In that case, if one second guys, if we take the input one by one, we can give the option to user to end the process when he or she is done with inputting the numbers. Now I have to define, I am done with counting the numbers, please give me the result. To do that, I'm using the continue and break statements. Now, the continue statement will stop the iteration there and goes to next iteration. What is the next iteration? That is this bit. Now, what I'm explaining here, if the user enters number 2, we use break statement to stop the complete loop and flow goes out. Now, if the number is 2, it should break, it should stop the complete loop and come out. Okay. Now, in this situation, the only thing we are more concerned is if the user enters anything other than given choices. What is the choice? 1 is one choice, 2 is one choice. Okay. If 1 is run, it will give this one. If it is 2, it will break. Okay. Then what happens? It will come out of it and say, please enter a valid choice. Now what you need to do is, you have to remember whatever input we take from the user, it is in a string format. Break and continue process on the innermost loops in case of nested loops. Okay, now let me come out of this. Let me show you what I mean. Perfect. Srija, is it making any sense to you? Now, very simple boss. I said n equal to input. When I say n equal to input, that's the number I'm going to give. Okay. Here, enter 1 to enter a number, enter 2 to stop the process. When I say 1, it will take the number. Let me say that. Something wrong. Give me 1 second. Let me fix that out. When I say sum equal to 0, while true should come down here. Okay. Now, 1 second, guys. Let me check where the syntax has failed. Syntax error. It should be indentation error. Give me 1 second. N equal to 1 is fine. Number equal to input is fine. And try will come here. And when I say try is here, the sum goes here. Like that, except will come here. This is how you need to plan the indentation when you are using one loop within the other loop. And when the indentation starts here, 4 spaces here. Perfect. Continue is done, and then the continue should go under the print. Perfect. Like that, I should go elif n equal to 2, and break is fine, and after break I have else. Now it should work perfectly. Now enter the 1 to a number, enter 2 to stop the process. I entered 1. Okay, I said 3, it stopped. Okay, what it stopped, it said enter 1 to enter a number, enter 2 to stop the process. If I say 2, it keeps telling the same thing. What it's trying to sell? If boss, if it is to break. Okay, 1 second. Enter 1 to enter the number, it has to sum up, sum equal to sum plus int. So when I say 1, it is still taking it. So 1 second folks, 1 second. Let me give other number. I want to see the valid choice. This is what I want to see. If n is equal to 1, let me try once again. Okay, if I say 1, it is doing something. That's okay. Number equal to input. Enter 2 to stop the process. If n is 1, enter the number. 0. One second, guys. 1 second. Even I am lost here. It should give me the result in a different way than what I expected. Okay. Yeah, true. This is, guys, this is infinite loop, so it keeps on running. It keeps on running like that. Okay, that's true. Actually, what we're doing is true. So let's, if I say it's still running, give me 1 second. That's an infinite loop. That's the reason it keeps on running. If I don't say this condition, then the things would have been different. Okay, that's what the important point here is. So in this statement, in this use case, what we are trying to understand is, we are just trying to understand how the break and continue will work. Okay, the important one I want to highlight here is the continue statement will stop the iteration and goes to next iteration when you are done with the process. Okay, and one more thing here is, when we are using the continue statement, we also have to use a break statement. The break statement will stop the complete loop and flow goes out. Flow goes out means it's returning the end function. Okay, that's what it is. That's all you need to understand in this in this one. If it is not infinite loop, things would have been different. As this infinite loop, you will keep on getting the same thing again and again and again and again. Okay, this is all about break and continue. Okay, let me quickly see. This is still running. I'll restart the kernel once. Are you clear on this slide? Can I move on, guys? Can I move on? Nitesh?
Then bottom else there is no point of required, right? That is not required, right?
No. The whole, see, very simple. The reason why we have added this is, we just wanted to show if the whole scenario is not met, just say enter a valid choice. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me try this once again, because I wanted to show that infinite loop for you. Okay, I say 1, it does 2. I say 2, it does it. I say 3, it does it. I say 4, it does it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, it keeps on doing it. Okay, that's what it is. Now we are done with break and continue. Very simple అబ్బా, మీరు కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అవ్వాల్సింది ఏం లేదు. ఎక్కడ బ్రేక్ చేయాలి, ఎక్కడ కంటిన్యూ చేయాలి. When I say continue, it will keep on doing it. When I say break, it will completely break out of the, it will stop from the complete flow. When I say complete flow, it's a complete loop. అయిపోయి రిటర్న్ దగ్గర కానీ ప్రింట్ దగ్గర చూసుకుంటుంది. That's what it is. Okay, again we have subsequent classes which explains where to start, where to break, which block of code to implement first, and which block of code to break out and start the next loop. At this point, I understand where you guys will be confused. Which loop to implement first, which block to consider first. Within the main block, I may have 5 subblocks. In that subblocks, how can I say which loop and which iteration to prioritize? That depends upon a logic which we'll discuss later. I have one slide for that. Okay, I have 3 things to be sorted. The first one is I think yesterday we discussed something.
Amar, yesterday you want to explain about that exception handling.
Yeah, that exception handling is one thing, and this bit is second thing. Okay, two things, and GitHub one, and the whole flow of execution is also there. Okay, that is fine. Till here we are clear, right? Everyone can move on, guys. We are really running very slow. We have got again. We are just we have to complete half more topics actually. I'm not sure if I can finish it by Saturday, but yeah, I'll try my level best. Okay, cool. Guys, are you clear till this point?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's good. Now we understood about the break and continue very practically. Okay, now let me jump onto this one. Now, this is what I explained just now, how the whole initialization works. Guys, once again, I would like to take a minute on this one because if you don't understand this, we don't understand the next one also. What we did is, initially, we have taken sum as 0, and then there's a while statement whose condition will always be true. That's infinite loop. I explained very clearly. And then we gave the option to user at every iteration whether to enter a new number or to stop entering the numbers. If user enters 1, we ask to enter the number. In this process, we have taken a precaution using try except statements to check whether the input given by user is a valid number or not. Yes, if it is a valid number, we add it to the sum. Else, we ask to enter a valid number. Okay, the continue stops that iteration there and goes to next iteration. When if it is a valid number, we add it to the sum. Else, we ask to enter a valid number. When the process has asked to enter a valid number, the continue will stop evaluation from there and it goes to next iteration. Now, let me show you something. One second, I have to erase all the drawings again and I have to go back to the pointer. Okay. Now, till here, it's one part of the execution. Now, the continue stops the iteration and goes to next iteration. This will stop when you got an input, where you got an output telling boss the number you have given is wrong. Please give me a valid number. That's it. Once the continue stops, here the user have to enter 2. If user enters 2, we use break statement to stop the complete loop. So if it is 2, you're breaking it. When you break it, means forget about everything and just say please enter a valid choice. Okay, now if the user enters anything other than given choices, we ask him to enter a valid choice. Again, continue will start from here. You are not ending it. If you end it somewhere, return done deal, then it will stop it. But a continue statement is continuing the work toward the process. What you have to remember here is, remember whatever input we take from the user, it is in string format. Okay, remember whatever input we take from the user, it is in string format for this use case. Break and continue process are on the innermost loops in case of nested loops. This statement is a bit confusing because your break and continue process on the innermost loops in case of nested loops. What he is trying to tell you here is, if we have many loops, nested loop is one loop within that loop and that loop will have other loops like that. So break and continue will process on the innermost loop when you have nested loops. It doesn't care about external loops. For example, in one main block you have a subblock, the subblock you have another block, and break and continue will prioritize the subblocks underneath block break and continue statement, and then one level up and then one level up. That's the implementation strategy of break and continue. Clear? Clear guys till this point? Everyone, can I move on to for loop now? I think I have to have an assignment here, didn't I? Actually, we have an assignment here, but that missed in this slide. That's okay, don't worry. Let's get on to 46. Guys, are you clear with break and continue? Can I move on? A quick response, please. Everyone?
Yeah,
Guys,
continue.
once again, I'm telling you, I know you'll have a hell lot of questions. I know you'll be confused. I know as you are totally new to Python and the programming world, it will take some time to settle down, and it will take some time to make yourself comfortable with the flow, but just go with it, persist it. I'm there to help you. I'm sure you're gonna be fine in next 1 week. Don't lose the hope. That's all I can say. You are out of box starting a new programming thing which you never did, and you are just getting yourself familiar with concepts, not coding. When you understand the concept, we merge all this concept and write a code. When you start writing code, it would make more sense to you. All the questions you are getting right now is completely valid and appreciated, and you have to get more questions, and only then I assume you are in right direction. Hold on your anxiety. I'm here to help you. Don't worry that things are going over your head. Yes, things have to go over your head because you are dealing with a programming language called Python. And it's inevitable that you should have that feeling of things going over your head. Simple as it is. Okay? Things apart, let's jump out our topic. Now, for loop. You talked about if, you talked about else, you also talked about elif. You also talked about while loop. Now comes the important concept called for loop. Okay. What are the doubts you have on while loop, guys? Because if you don't get while loop properly, then you won't understand for loop. Forget about the logic we implemented. Did you understand the while loop? Forget about the logic. Did you understand the implementation of while loop? I have highlighted 2 or 3 important statements. Did you understand that? Just tell me.
Yeah, while loop as a concept, I understood it totally, but when implementing in the program, I'm not sure of that. I'm not very sure about it. Like in the
Okay.
previous example also.
The example has confused you. That example has messed up the whole confidence on while loop, which is acceptable. I'll decode that. But the concept of while loop is clear, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understood what while loop does. Yeah.
So, Ija, how about you? So, Ija, how about you? Did you get the concept?
Yes, Samar, I'm understanding.
Okay, cool. Now, let me get on to for loop now. Okay. Now, park all your while loop concepts aside. Do not come into for loop keeping in mind about your strange, scary thoughts of while loop. While loop is done, forget about it. Now let's start fresh with for loop. Now, we can iterate through a set of things such as list of words, lines of file, or list of numbers. Do you know that? If I have a list of words A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, E, I can iterate through set of words like that. I can iterate through lines in a file, line number 10, line number 15, line number 20, like that, or a list of numbers. I can iterate through when I know how to use for loop. Now, when we have a list of things to loop through, we can construct a defined loop using a for statement. Is it clear? Is this clear? Again, I repeat, when we have a list of things to loop through, we can construct a definite loop using a for statement. Very simple sentence, and I hope you got that. Now, we call the while statement an indefinite loop because it simply loops until some condition becomes false. Whereas for loop is looping through a non-set of items, so it runs through as many iterations as there are items in the set. If I have 100 items in the set, my for loop has to do the iterations as many times to cover the 100 items. Okay, I repeat the difference between for loop and while loop. You call the while loop as an indefinite loop because it simply loops until some conditions become false. Whereas for loop is looping through a non-set of lines, non-set of items, non-set of words, so it runs through as many iterations as there are items in the set. Now, before I proceed or before I go further, do you understand this one? Difference between for loop and while loop.
Yeah.
Fozio, clear? Perfect. Guys, I need a
Yeah.
good response, please. You know, it's early in the morning. Just be active, man. Clear? Guys, are you clear with this point?
Yes, some.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now, the syntax of a for loop is similar to while loop, but there is a statement for a loop body. I repeat, the syntax for a loop, the syntax for a for loop is similar to while loop in that there is a first statement for a loop body. In while loop, you have while. In for loop, you have a for. Okay. Now let's take one simple example. Numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I say numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for numbers in numbers, print number. Now I have 5 numbers here. So my for loop has to go through 5 iterations. Okay. Indentation here. So just say print number. It keeps running. Okay. It keeps running and it says, let me restart the kernel. 1 minute, guys. Okay. Missing parenthesis. I can say I don't know if it will take it, but let me try that one. See, it has given the number 1, 2, 3, 4. Why it gave a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It gave it because it has for loop as run through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For number in numbers mean for number 1, for number 2, for number 3, for number 4, for number 5. That's what it is. This is a candid way how your for loop is implemented. Okay. Now let me go on to next slide. I've just saved it. It will take some time to come up. Okay. Now this is let's go deeper now. Suppose there is a list of numbers from 1 to 5 stored in a variable numbers. Now number is my variable name and my variable numbers is storing numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there are more concepts to be discussed in this. Don't worry, we'll cover in later topics. Then we iterate over all the elements of the list and print each of the element. That's what I just showed you. When I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has shown me all, it has outputted me all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What happens is here we iterated over all the elements of the list and print each of the element. Perfect. We can do any operation over the elements depending upon the requirements. Okay. Now we need to understand what is the differences and how the generic loop process works. The generic loop process works in 3 important ways. First one is initializing one or more variables before the loop starts. Before starting for loop, start I equal to 0 or I less than or equal to 1 or I greater than or equal to 1, like that. You should at least start with initializing one variable or one or more variable. Super, you understood that. When you are performing some computations on each item in the loop body, possibly changing the variables in the body of the loop. Now, there are 2 conditions in this statement. The first condition is when you are performing some computations on each item. When I say each item, I have 5 files. I have 5 numbers. I am doing a computation on each of the 5 elements in that case, which is in the loop body. And possibly you wanted to change the variable in the body of the loop. Two conditions here. You wanted to perform the computations on the 5 numbers which I gave without making any change. Again, you also want to change the variables within the body of the loop. In these situations, you can use for loop. Now, looking at the resulting variables when the loop completes, you know what your desired result is going to be when the loop is completed. Considering these 3 ideas, these 3 important points, you must frame your for loop implementation strategy. Okay, so I repeat, first one is you should initialize one or more variables before starting the loop. While you are on the loop, you can perform the computations on each item in the loop body. What is the each item? Each item means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, computation on 1, computation on 2, computation on 3, computation on 4, computation on 5. Super. Once that's done, if you have a possibility of changing the variables in the body of the loop, you can do it. That is how the for loop will be implemented. And if you are aware of the desired output of the resulting variable when the loop is completed, that is also well and good. That is what the for loop implementation strategy is. Okay, very bad. That's very bad. I only have slides prepared till this point. Okay, now let me show you something.
But we left with 1 minute, I think.
Sorry, what is
Session
that?
will go. Oh, you schedule meeting until 6:30, right?
Yeah. Okay, 6:30. We have discussed enough, guys. I know there are 3 important points I have to decode for you. First one is yesterday's exception catching, today's while loop implementation, and the third one is how to understand which block and which loop will be implemented first. These 3 things I'll make sure this will be decoded and make things clear for you before we complete the workshop. Tomorrow is Saturday, so let's start the same time, 5 a.m. Are you all okay with that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sunday also we are going to have the same timing. You can log in from home, no physical workshops. Okay?
Okay.
Because I want to complete the concepts as soon as possible and then jumpstart into practicals. To be honest with you, you have clearly understood end-to-end implementation of machine learning and you understood the whole framework of it. We need to do more use cases so that you get yourself a certified kind of confidence and you can start doing the Kaggle competitions. Clear?
Okay.
Thank you everyone. I sincerely appreciate your commitment. Keep up your energy levels for a few more days. We are all in a good shape. Thank you. See you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.